Now, the chair recognizes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mendelson, is crime up or down in the last month here in D.C.?
It's down.
Down significantly, right? Robberies down 42%, deadly weapon assaults down 13%, carjackings down 85%, car theft down 24%, violent crime down 25%. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Before last year, before the surge, violent crime was down 26%. After the surge, violent crime was down 27%.
Yeah, I thought you would say that before the surge that violent crime was down. But the chairman of the Fraternal Order, in fact, you said, I think you tweeted out, or you put a statement out on August 12th, violent crime in the district is at its lowest levels we've seen in 30 years.
Correct.
But the head of the Fraternal Order of Police, Mr. Pemberton, said, when our members respond to the scene of a felony offense, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on the scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense. Are you guys cooking the books?
I think we're not, but I also know that there are a couple of investigations run by this committee.
Well, you settled a case too, didn't you? You just settled a case where someone said you were cooking the books. Is that right?
I can't speak to that case. I don't have familiarity.
Well, we know it was settled. It's been reported.
But I do know there are collateral statistics that affirm the reduction in crime.
Is Mr. Pemberton lying? Head of the FOP?
Yes.
You think he's lying? Wow. Well, let me just read from the court case that was settled. This is the transcript of Mr. Randy Griffin, who's the commander of the Metro Police Department. And he was asked the question in his deposition. He says, Lieutenant Andrew Zabowski came up with the classification of taking property without right. Correct? He responded yes. Question, so he's saying that you told him to come up with a solution for the theft problem, which is driving up crime statistics for the district, correct? He responded, yes. Sounds like you guys are cooking the books there, according to, this is under oath from the deposition from this case that was just settled with the person who brought the action, sergeant in your police department. But you're not cooking the books?
Congressman,
the question was to Mr. Mendelson.
As I said, there are two investigations. I know there's one internal in the Metropolitan Police Department. I know that there's an investigation by this committee. I think that the three of us
What's
here
taking property
welcome that
without right?
investigation.
What's taking property without right?
Well, that would be theft.
Why not call it theft? Why come up with this designation? In fact, that's what he says. He's asked the question.
Congressman, I can't
the
speak to that
the solution
particular
from
case.
Mr. Zabowski was to come up with this TPWR, taking property without right. What is that? Taking property without right is what again?
If you're speaking to the particular charges, I can't speak to that. And as I've said several times here, I can't speak to that particular case. I think the issue is whether there is widespread...
I'm asking a simple question. You have a classification for crime called taking property without right. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means just what it said, if that's what the crime is.
Well, why not call it? I mean, what would a normal person call taking property without right?
Are we talking about what the criminal code and the specific
No, I'm just talking about that statement that you have that's grown 500% in the last several years, that specific category of crime. I'm just wondering, what does that exactly mean?
So if we look at collateral data such as ShotSpotter, we know that gunshots are down 29% from 23 to 24.
Taking property without right was the question. What does that mean?
I've already answered you, sir.
And what'd you say again?
I said that if you're speaking to a particular offense in our criminal code, I cannot speak to that particular offense.
Well, why not just call it stealing? That's what we would all. Someone comes and takes something that belongs to me, or someone comes and takes something that belongs to you. We call it stealing. Why create this new category that grows 500% that I think allows you to cook the books as the head of the FOP in your city said so?
As you know, as the chair of the Judiciary Committee, there are for many offenses a range of possible charges from misdemeanor to felony and different shades of felony. So I am not familiar with that particular offense.
Is it a good thing that, are you against having the National Guard here, or do you think that's been helpful to the citizens and the families and the people who live in the D.C. area?
We think that the D.C. National Guard is a very valuable and wonderful asset to the city. That's a little bit different than having thousands of guard troops stationed around the city when they are not trained in law enforcement, and my understanding is that many of them were looking kind of bored with what they were doing.
My time is run out. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Chair,
At a House Oversight Committee hearing on Thursday, Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio pressed D.C. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson over crime levels in Washington, raising sharp questions about whether the city's statistics can be trusted. Mendelson began by noting that crime numbers had fallen in recent weeks. He cited steep drops in key categories: robberies down by more than 40%, assaults with deadly weapons down 13%, carjackings down 85%, auto theft down 24%, and overall violent crime down about 25%. Jordan acknowledged the declines, but immediately shifted to the credibility of those figures, pointing to complaints from the Fraternal Order of Police. According to the union, officers responding to felony-level crimes were being instructed by higher-ranking officials to classify them as lesser offenses, a move critics say makes the city look safer on paper than it actually is. When asked directly if the city was cooking the books, Mendelson rejected the claim. Yet Jordan reminded him that the district had recently settled a lawsuit alleging the same type of misclassification. To drive the point home, Jordan read aloud from sworn deposition testimony by Commander Randy Griffin of the Metropolitan Police Department. In that testimony, Griffin confirmed that a lieutenant had introduced a new category called taking property without right, often abbreviated as TPWR, which was applied to theft cases. Jordan argued that the creation of this new offense diluted the true scope of theft in the district. He pointed out that the use of TPWR had surged by 500% in recent years, suggesting that crime statistics were being manipulated through bureaucratic language. Why not just call it stealing? Jordan pressed. If someone takes something that doesn't belong to them, that's theft. Why create a new category unless you're trying to make the numbers look better? Mendelson repeatedly deflected, saying he could not comment on that particular offense within the criminal code. Instead, he leaned on collateral data, including ShotSpotter technology, which indicated a 29% decline in recorded gunfire incidents. For him, these independent indicators showed that crime reductions were genuine, even if some categories were disputed. The back and forth grew sharper as Jordan emphasized that this wasn't just a technical issue but one of public trust. People in your city know what's happening on the ground, he said, implying that official numbers were out of step with lived experiences. Mendelson maintained that the district was not misrepresenting crime, though he conceded that investigations were ongoing both within the police department and through congressional oversight. Toward the end of his questioning, Jordan shifted briefly to another matter: the role of the D.C. National Guard. He asked whether the Guard had been a benefit to residents. Mendelson replied that the Guard was indeed a valuable asset, but also noted that many Guard members were not trained for law enforcement duties. When deployed in the city, he said, they were often left standing idle, unsure of their role in addressing community safety. The exchange underscored a broader debate playing out in Washington. On one side, city officials are eager to show progress in reducing crime and restoring confidence after high-profile spikes in violence. On the other, critics, including some police representatives and Republican lawmakers, argue that the numbers tell only part of the story and may be shaped by how incidents are categorized. With internal and congressional investigations underway, the dispute over what counts as crime and how it is reported remains unsettled.